Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. But where we need to be aware is that if we have made a lifestyle out of saying no to things, then we might be passing on opportunity repeatedly, and that's no good because a leader needs to be a visionary. A leader needs to be able to know how they're going to lead their team, where they're going towards. Do they have some dreams? Do they have goals? Do they have a plan? Are they being strategic? There's things that we as leaders need to practice to be able to lead people well. And that is going to take us into a realm of having to say yes to things and having to try new things because opportunities do come. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that because you could be practicing poor leadership by saying no and by overlooking opportunities and by not even tapping into opportunities because these opportunities could lead to some great results. So maybe let's pause for a moment and maybe let's talk about potentially why you might be saying no and why you would be passing over opportunities repeatedly. As I'm thinking about this and I'm reflecting about the times that I've done this. And can I be honest with all of you? I still do this, and that's why I'm talking about it. I am continuously trying to work on these bad habits that I have and learning new ones. And this is an area that I want to continue to work on because I do pass on opportunities. I do say no to things that I probably should have said yes to. And why is that? Well, sometimes I just don't want to get comfortable. Or I don't want to be uncomfortable. I am too comfortable, and I don't want to get uncomfortable. And so maybe I'm scared of experiencing a new thing, or I just don't have all the details, so I just don't want to go into the unknown. And so I don't want to be uncomfortable that way. But it's crazy because over the years, I have learned that actually being uncomfortable should be one of those things that leaders should practice because some really good things happen. But maybe let's talk about maybe not feeling prepared. Maybe you don't feel like you're not ready for whatever that opportunity was, and so you're just going to say no. Well, what about if you're not feeling equipped? You don't think you have the tools, you don't have the the mindset, the knowledge. I mean, you can insert whatever in there, right? Maybe you don't feel worthy. I think this one's a big one. We end up judging ourselves on past experiences and failures and or wins even, or things that worked out or didn't work out. And we end up judging ourselves from there to now and going, well, I know what happened last time. Now, there's a valid point in there because we should learn from our experiences. We should learn from our failures. I even say learn from your wins. But we end up judging ourselves and we think that, hey, we're the same person that we were 10 years ago, we are today. And even if you unintentionally didn't focus on growing, you probably learned a couple of things. You probably grew a little bit. But the thing is, that's why it's important to grow because we get to evolve as an individual and we get to learn from all of this. And so maybe you're afraid of past experiences and that's why you don't want to move forward with new opportunity. So the next one thought would be, we need to challenge that thought. When you catch it, you challenge it. And so I want to give you a few thoughts three questions that will help you challenge that thought. If you don't know what to do, if you're kind of feeling stuck with it and, okay, well, I caught myself in being negative, but what do I do now? Ask yourself these three questions. And the first one is it true? Is what you're thinking true or not? Because if we're having 60,000 thoughts and they're being negative, or a good chunk of them are being negative thoughts, well, are they true? Is the thought that you're having about yourself true? Is the thought that you're having about somebody else true? Is the thought about the future, about the past, about the present? Whatever it is that you're thinking, challenge it by asking yourself, is it true? Because maybe the circumstance is true. Maybe what you're feeling is correct, and we can be honest about that, but we don't have to identify with that thought. So, you might have a circumstance that you're not really happy with. There's a circumstance that has really caused pain and issues for you, but that doesn't mean that you have to own it in the way of having an identity with it. It doesn't have to be true for you. And so when you understand that you can split and you can separate yourself from the problem, then it helps you think a little bit different. So when you catch yourself thinking these negative thoughts, ask yourself, is it true? The next question would be, is it helpful? What you're thinking right now, is it actually being helpful? Is it actually helping you come up with a solution? Is it actually helping you with the problem? Is it actually helping you feel better about yourself? Is it actually helping you in any way? Ask yourself, is what I'm thinking right now being helpful in this circumstance? And then the third question would be, is this kind? Is this being kind to yourself? Are you being kind to yourself? Because so many times in negative talks, we end up really treating ourselves like garbage. We end up, demeaning ourselves and making us feel like we are not worthy. We end up bullying ourselves in that thought process. And so it's super important. It's super important to pause and say, hey, is this being kind to me? I think we need to do a better job of speaking nicer to ourselves. Sometimes we'll speak better to other people than we do to ourselves. We are stuck in this mindset, in this thought life. And of course, nobody else can hear us. But then you got to stop and ask yourself, would you speak to your mom that way? Would you speak to your family that way or other people? Now, some of you might say, yeah, I would. Well, we need to work on some other things if you do that. But if you're not being kind to yourself, then you need to realize that something needs to change. So when you challenge yourself with these three questions, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Then it really helps you then realize saying, okay, now I have to choose to change. Are you running on fumes or are you running on fuel? Fumes, you feel like, well, this is just a small season, and potentially you're correct. This time will pass, but fumes are dangerous because they're a gateway to leading you to burnout, to making you sick, to not uh, taking you into a season where you're not healthy. And fuel is great when you're doing things that are they're the right things, and they're fanning the flames, and um, you're motivated, inspired, and encouraged, and you're doing some awesome things. The question is, how long will that last? And I'm not a downer, but I want to be honest and make sure that we are assessing, because the fuel can be great, but sometimes we can push ourselves to the point that then it will lead to fumes, and it could lead to just the downfall, or just some chaotic scenario, because you were not taking care of yourself. And so, are you running on fumes or fuel? And so, I'm going to encourage you to take a timeout. So, what does that look like? Okay. In a sports analogy, when teams take timeout, we see uh, this strategic timeout being taken when the team is not doing so well, when the team is losing, and it's a way to get everybody kind of, hey, let's get you some rest, let's get you motivated here, let's get you refocused, let's get you back on track, so we know what to do next. And sometimes just a little rest, a little pause in the game can make the world of a difference. Now, you can also take a timeout when things are going great. Sometimes things are going so good that you're go, 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 and you just need to rest a little bit. Here, this is what I need to tell you all, okay? Rest is not the enemy. Rest is not the thing that's going to cause us to fail. Rest is not going to be the thing that causes us to not have momentum. Rest is not the enemy to potentially get us off course. Rest is our friend, and we need to learn how to apply it and use it well to be able to function to the best of our ability as a leader. I've heard it say, somebody once told me, say, well, rest will kill momentum, and you just can't do that. Well, if you have the right attitude, and in fact, if you Learn to apply rest on a regular basis. It'll become your friend and will actually fuel you and not cause you problems. And for when you're running on fumes, rest is going to be just ultra important, because all you need to do sometimes is, you know, I need to think about something else. I need to rest my physical body. I need to rest my emotions. I need to rest my mental state. I need to rest my spirit. Whatever it is, rest is going to be a key ingredient. And we can probably chat more about this later on and go deeper and deeper. But I want to bring to your attention to give yourself a timeout right now. This is the thing. Sometimes habits, whether we're talking about good or bad, they seem insignificant. And like I mentioned earlier on, the small things do matter. So we do little things in life and we don't think it's a big deal. Like you go, well, on a let's say, let's focus on the bad habits for a moment. You think about, well, if I eat fast food, you know, a few times a week, once in a while, it's really not going to hurt me. Potentially, you're correct if you know how to snip it and stop it. But the thing is, if you get comfortable, you end up, building bad habits, like, now you're spending money that you shouldn't be spending, because potentially you should be on a budget and you don't have the money to be eating out all the time during the week. Maybe the choice of food that you're eating is not actually great for you. Maybe you're eating greasy food and food that is just completely unhealthy, and maybe it won't do anything to your body today. Maybe it won't do anything to your body this month. But if you do that consistently over time, it's going to build up, and you will end up waking up one day realizing, actually, I'm not feeling healthy. I have heart conditions. My liver's not doing well. I can't breathe that well. I'm not moving. I'm not exercising, and it compounded over time. This is the thing about little habits, whether we're looking at the positive or negative, is that small habits done over time, they compound. And so, in negatively, they will compound, and one day you realize that, wow, how did I get here? Because it's not a game of addition, it's a game of multiplication and compounding. And then you realize that I suddenly just woke up and now I'm not where I want to be with my health, and I'm not where I want to be with my mental health. I'm not here with my with the way I feel, with emotions, all that. I just feel like it suddenly arrived here, because it pops up on you, because it multiplies and duplicates, triples, whatever. It becomes huge suddenly, and you just don't know how you got there, because little habits do compound over time. But in the positive is just as good. You think about, if you woke up every morning to do a run, to exercise a little bit. Maybe it seems insignificant at first, but when you build that habit, you suddenly start feeling hungry for doing it more often, and even doing more in-depth workouts, and you start feeling healthy. You pick up a book to read and you go, okay, well, what is it with reading 10 pages every day? That's not significant. I'm not feeling transformed. Maybe in the immediate you're not feeling transformed, but what if over time you build a habit and you're now suddenly you went from reading 0 books in 1 year to 12 books a year, because you read one a month? What about if you start eating healthy and you realize, well, um, as simple as drinking more water, and you realize, okay, I didn't drink as much, I didn't like it for whatever reason, but now I'm consistent, I'm hydrated, and I feel better inside because I did these little things over time. The challenge is being aware of where you're putting your efforts in, and being mindful of the little things that are actually potentially seem insignificant are actually causing some damage. And so, understanding that and doing the tweaks and the pivots and going, okay, I'm going to start working on some healthy habits so I can have a healthy life. I don't want to continue down a road and wake up one day going, I'm older, I don't feel like I have the energy. Now I feel like it's too late. What did I do with my life? Maybe stop, maybe pause. Maybe this is what you need to do today. Pause for a moment and go, okay, where am I at? Self-awareness is probably one of the most effective things that you can do, because when you're aware, then you have the ability to realize that you can change. This is the thing. Change doesn't produce something new without doing the work. So the end is for you need to do the work. You're going to have to go put some effort into it. You're going to have to put some work into it that will cause you to move the needle, that will actually cause you to move forward. Work is a good thing. Work can be, you can work smart, you can work hard, and you want to focus on both of them, which I have talked about before. You want to work wise. And so go and do the work so you can see your efforts be put into something that is of value, and then you can see that fruit come out of it. Don't be afraid of working hard in order to change. Change actually will take work, and this is one thing that I've learned: to get out of our old ways. Sometimes we can get stuck in tradition, we can get stuck in the past, we can get stuck in saying things like this is the way we've always done things. We can get stuck in things that work, but maybe they need to be revived. We get stuck in being comfortable, and it takes work to get out of there. It takes effort, and then even to keep it moving, you need to work. And so don't be afraid to go get dirty and to get your hands dirty, and to put some sweat equity into it, so then you can see the change come alive and come into fruition. Needing to do the work is absolutely important. Now, everything I'm sharing right now, all these key things I think are important, but let's make sure that we don't leave one of these out, because work is going to be part of that. Okay, so we need to do the work. The G in the word change is going to be grow as you go. You can do the work, but you need to be willing to grow and learn along the way. See, the reason we get stuck without changing sometimes is because we're not teachable. We're not willing to do things differently. We're not willing to realize that other people have perspectives and opinions that actually do matter, and they can work, and they can make us be better. And so be willing to grow as you go. Don't be stuck in your ways. Change needs to be centered in this idea that growth is going to be part of it, but also that there's things that you're going to learn. If you're going to ask for help, be willing to learn from that. If you're going to go do things, you're also probably going to do things the wrong way. So learn from your failures. It's okay to fail, but learn from it by failing forward. So grow as you go, so you don't become this leader that gets stuck in their ways or thinking that there's only one way to do things. We need to remember. We need to remember that we cannot separate this personal health from leadership performance. Like, we can't look at performance and effectiveness separate from our personal health. If we are not taking care of ourselves, if our personal health is not in line, on track, it will, I have no doubt, it will affect your performance. And if you're not seeing it yet, if you don't believe that, if you're not buying into that, you just give it some time and you will see. And I do not want not only you to pay the price for not paying attention to this, but your people and the relationships that you have and the people that you get to lead will suffer in that process, because they're going to get not only not a good leader from you, they're going to get the results of bad decisions and the bad leadership that you're bringing to the table. And so I really want you to think of that, because how we treat our bodies, how we see our minds, the fact that we are choosing to be healthy leaders is actually going to be a difference maker. And so maybe some questions that you can think of today, and just as you're driving, as you're listening, take some notes and think about this. Question one would be, where am I ignoring the signs of fatigue? Is there some stress in your life? Is there some imbalance? Is there some pain? Is there some warning signs that are coming your way that you're ignoring? So ask yourself, am I ignoring any signs right now when it comes to that area? And write it down. Think about it and meditate on that. What is one habit? Okay. There's probably many things that you could think of that you want to change, but what is one habit that you need to maybe start, you need to apply, but even just as important, maybe there's a habit that you need to take away, that you need to work through so that it gets out of your life. Have you paused lately to think about what habits you can start or take away? And maybe write one down and be gracious on yourself and allow yourself to work through one habit at a time. And maybe another question here to help you out is, are you leading from a place? This is going to be super important. As I said, leaders think about the future and they're long-term thinkers, visionaries. Are you leading from a place and at a pace that is going to be sustainable for the next, we'll say, 10 years, even 5 years, even 3 years? Are you going to be sustainable where you're at right now? And if you're not, it is time to change. It is time to make a difference. So I want you to think about that and write it down, journal it down, and be honest with yourself as you work through that. Because at the end of the day, this is what I really want you to get from this point, is that healthy leaders are present leaders. And when we're present, we then become aware of these things that are either being good for us or actually causing damage and hurting us. And we need to be aware of that. So then we know what to change, how to change, and how to move forward. All right. My next thought is that if you're going to be a leader that lives well and you're going to be living well, you need to understand that you need to be whole. Living well equals being whole. And this is one of the ideas that I've been thinking about often, because it's about understanding that there is this pursuit of inner stability that we need to have. We need to understand our identity. We need to understand that there's integrity involved in the way we present ourselves and the way we lead ourselves. And there needs to be this wholeness idea of how we approach life and how we live our life. So here's a thought. Wholeness needs to be about alignment. It's about aligning your values. It's about aligning your actions and your decisions. When we think about all that, when we think values, actions, and decisions, do they match? Are they congruent? Are they in line with the way we're living? And if one is off, we need to stop, we need to pause, and we need to think about that, because we want to be leaders that are congruent. We want to be people that are in alignment to what we believe and how we live our lives, and we can't be saying one thing, doing another, and vice versa. That kind of stuff. When leaders are insecure or are leading from a posture of performing or some sort of distortion in their lives, we become leaders that are reactive. We can be leaders that are not necessarily proactive. We're always just reacting to life happening to us. Life happens to us, and now we're going like, well, what am I supposed to do? Instead of us happening to life, instead of us going, well, this is how I live my life. I live my life on purpose. I live my life in a way that I am proactive in my decision making. I'm proactive in my thought life and in the way I live.